Hey guys, it's Gordon's Garage here. We're going to work on some C10s today. But first, I have to feed the goats their deworming medicine. All right, get back. Come on, get out of there. Get back. All right, that's first 6. Now we have to go feed 13 more. What's going on, goats? What's going on? You want some deworming feed, do you? Huh? Nope, nope. Get out of the bag. Okay, so now that we've got the goats fed, we can move on to more important stuff. Today we're working on this, I believe it's a 71 C10 short bed. We've already got the engine running. It had sit for a while. We put a new HEI distributor in it, took the old point system out, put some new spark plug wires on it, blew the carburetor out, and put fresh gas in it, and she fired up and runs good. So we're going to put some brakes on it today. We got here a new master cylinder, brake master cylinder, and some brake lines and some hardware, some brake fluid. So we'll see what we can do. This got no pedal, brake pedals all the way to the floor. So the master cylinder's bad, but the rubber lines are old and dry rotted too. So I'm going to try to get him some brakes, and I think this one's getting painted as well. So I know I haven't posted any videos or uploaded any videos lately. Just been kind of distracted with life, but I plan to get this started back up, this YouTube thing. So stay tuned. Okay, so here's the new master cylinder from NAPA, and I think it's brand new. Let's see. The box here, DOM master cylinder. So we're gonna put that bad boy on here, but first we'll pull the old one off and make sure that it's all the same before I put brake fluid in that new master cylinder and bench bleed it. Because the outside dimensions, there's a few things that look different, but a lot of times they'll change things over the years. So let's get started. Tell you what, sometimes I just don't understand what they were thinking back in the day. A lot of people think that older stuff is easier to work on, and a lot of times it just is not true. Sometimes it's just harder because things weren't engineered as precisely. Whew, that one's tight. There it went. This bolt actually is holding the proportioning valve, so let's get that loose. When I talk about things being engineered more precisely, I'm talking about things like this nut right here. See where it's at? In today's engineering, this master cylinder would have been the base, the reservoir there would be smaller, and you'd be able to get a socket and a ratchet on this nut. But you can't do that because this is so big and bulky. All you can do is get a wrench back here. So you're wrenching the nut off very slowly. And it's just aggravating when you're used to things being easier to work on. I guess they had more patience back in the 60s and 70s, I guess. They didn't mind wrenching on one nut for 3 days. Okay, I think we finally got all the bolts and lines, hydraulic lines off of this thing, so there she comes off of there. So one thing that I noticed in comparing the two, the old and the new, is, well, several things. See, the reservoirs are different size, which is good. The new one is narrower, you see? And that's brand new, and they've redesigned them so that you can get a socket in there instead of having to wrench for 37 days. But the lines come out in the same place, and the lines are the same size. And the cap's a little different with how it's held down, which that's fine. As long as we send hydraulic pressure down to the wheels, it's all that matters. So the new design is actually much better than the old design. Okay, so we're going to bench bleed this master cylinder. And we do that different than we used to do it as well. So there's a lot of things we're doing different these days. Some good, some bad. All right, so we got to pop the top off of here and open up our brake fluid and go ahead and fill this reservoir up. You got one for the rear, one for the front. And just let that gravity bleed for a minute. You're going to see it come out of these holes here where the lines screw in. But back in the day, really not so long ago, we would take a rubber line and feed it from where the line screws in here to the export and run it into the reservoir, and then we would pump the master cylinder and push all the air out of here and back into the reservoir. We'd push all the air out of this cylinder back to the reservoir, and then when you let the piston back out, it would pull fluid back into the cylinder here, if that makes sense. I'm not a very good explainer, but now instead of doing that, they give you these little caps, and they're just solid caps. We screw them right into here, right into your export hole. And what we do is we block that off completely. And then we push our piston in to our cylinder, and it tries to push the fluid out of these holes, but the fluid can't push out. So instead it pushes back and pushes all the air out of the reservoir. So that's how we bleed master cylinders now, these days. If that makes sense. It makes sense to me. It makes good sense. So we're going to tighten these. You don't want to over tighten them, but just tighten them right up against the flare inside of the port here. And then you want to you can just take a Phillips head screwdriver, is what I usually use, because it's rounded on the end and it's got a good handle on it. So let me get back here and let you see what I'm doing. See, right there's the back of the piston, and that's where your foot feed pushes against, and it's going to travel along this cylinder here as we push it, and it's going to try to push fluid out of these holes, but it can't do that now because we have them blocked. So all it can do is push the air back up out of the reservoir. See those bubbles in there? It's already bleeding right now. It's just the air naturally tries to escape. The air is just coming to the top. But see, I'll take this screwdriver and I'll push this piston in. See? And it's going to push air out. Now we got air coming out of the back. See, watch. See all that air coming out? But you can see that piston go in. I hope I'm filming this correctly. Probably not. I'm terrible at this. I don't know why I even try sometimes. But see, that will push in. That's what is happening when you push your brake pedal. That piston pushes in. So we want to give it about 30 seconds or so between pumps. And then when this gets tight to where you can't push it anymore, you know you got all the air out of it and it's ready to install. Okay, while that master cylinder's sitting there and I'm working on it between bleeds, these rubber lines here are going to get replaced too, I hope. It's getting pretty, some of that's pretty crusty. I've sprayed it down with lube. Hopefully they'll come loose. May have to heat them. Okay, here's some proof that miracles do happen. That line actually came loose after all these years, and I didn't even have to heat it. I sprayed some PB blaster on it, but other than that, she popped loose. Hopefully the others will too. Okay, so basically what happened is I got the rear rubber line on and got the new front rubber lines mounted, except this one will not fit on the original steel line. And what I found out is basically they sold us two right side lines, so two passenger side lines, and the driver's side has a different size inlet than the passenger side. So I had to run over here to Stroop's and get a adapter, which is just a couple bucks just down the street, and will save us a lot more time than trying to go locate the driver's side line. So the part numbers that they gave him were two different part numbers, a left and a right side, but it was still both passenger side. So this little fitting is going to screw right into the end of that line and go in there and fit the original steel line. It just makes things a lot easier. I had to resort back to the old method with the tubes. I don't know what the deal was, but I just couldn't get that to seal in the front port. So now what I got is the tubes put in there, and when you push the piston into the cylinder, it pushes the air out of the master cylinder through those lines and back into the reservoir. And then when you let go, it pulls fluid back into that cylinder down there. So you just repeat that step until there's no air bubbles. Okay, so we got into a little more than expected on this one, but that's okay. It's better safe than sorry. I had to put new steel lines on the back. After I bled it out, these back ones were so rusted that they just had little pinholes in it and it was leaking. So, yep. We got a brake pedal now. I'll go in here, put my foot on the brake pedal, and we do have pressure, good pressure. That's a good brake pedal. So this one is running, driving, and stopping now. Scott's out test driving this thing.